Well, it's worth mentioning, considering we're broadcasting from Dublin, that we do have a show on the 22nd of October in the Opium in Dublin. So you're more than welcome to come along.
And that was my question. I was going to mention it, but as we are on the topic, let's dive into Opium. So I'm wondering, with your show coming up, what can we expect, and how do you think that the venue will bring the music to a higher level?
Well, Opium is a special venue for us because throughout the pandemic, we streamed a live show from Opium. You can find it on YouTube, I think. And it was great because that whole experience allowed us to, first of all, allowed us to focus collectively on performing music together. But it kind of set us up for the very busy touring schedule that we've had this year. We've been honoring 2.5 years of postponed shows. So that was a really good opportunity to kind of to get all the ducks in a row. But yeah, I mean, the what to expect from the October show is really like what to expect from any God Is An Astronaut show. It's definitely a focus on melody, a focus on punch, loudness, emotivity. We try and sort of encapsulate everything and bring people on a kind of journey of sorts. And as Torsten mentioned as well, we spent quite a lot of time and attention getting a raw sound. We dispensed with the kind of digital world that we had been using, and as Torsten mentioned, we're back to guitar and guitars, amps and pedals, and now, and it makes for a broader color, a better experience live. It's quite heavy, but it also kind of like pays tribute to a lot of the melody that we have as well. So come along and find out, I suppose.
Apart from that, we obviously it is our 20-year anniversary. It all began in Dublin many years ago. I think our first show probably was maybe 2003. So and I think it's funny enough that the gig that has been ran or been semi-promoted by Dave Allen, who's the first guy who ever gave us our show in Dublin, and Isaac Butts many years ago. So to be, so one way it's kind of cool. And it is our 20-year anniversary, so that we've had numerous different lineups over the years, and Gaz Carr from Butterfly Explosion will probably join us for a song at the end. And Gaz has been there when lads are not well, or when we needed the extra keyboard player and guitar player. Gaz has been there, so it'd be nice to have Gaz share the stage with us, for our 20-year anniversary. And really excited again. To be able to play Dublin and just we hope everybody turns up and has a good time.
Certainly, we will be there. The Metal Galaxy will be there. And it will be basically, like you told us, a full circle. You'll be revisiting old songs, an anniversary, and revisiting your first gig playing, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we're for us, we want to obviously get a bit of everything. You obviously be playing stuff from that first album, but the All Is Violent album is very, very popular. So, there's certain songs people will not be happy if we left them out, like Suicide Star, and so we have to play those songs. The band is currently, as I said, really just moving in a new direction, and we want to be able to include those songs from Ghost Tapes and Epitaph as well. And we've so many songs we could play nearly 5 nights. There's songs like Frozen Twilight and different things that we're not able to play because we'd have to play 3 or 4 nights. Losing my voice here. Sorry.
Looking forward to the gig and to the venue, because I know I'm from Dublin around. So I'm wondering, Opium is not really like a venue that is often booked by bands. It's more academy or button factory, because Opium is, I think, a nightclub with dancing and so on. So that's also, I wonder, how do you think it fits at the music of God Is An Astronaut?
Yeah, it's a good venue. It's definitely more, I think, predominantly there are more electronic acts that perform there, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I saw Icelandic sort of minimal techno duo, Kiasmos, they're called. They're very good. I saw them perform there years ago. But it's a great venue. It's also run by the same people that run Whelan's, which is your more conventional kind of rock and roll venue. But yeah, it's the same guys. It's a similar size. It's in the heart of Dublin City, of course. Yeah, and we're really looking forward to playing it.
I mean, it's a small venue for us, you know. Again, you know, financially, it's a very affordable venue to play. It's got a good PA system in there as well. It'll definitely be, I think, going to be very full. You know, something we probably could have taken something bigger, but at the end of the day, with, you know, increasing people's, really, you know, the cost of living has gone up a lot, so we don't want to take any risks. We just want to make sure that we aim kind of realistically and just, you know, have it's there for the true fans to come. We don't want to do a hard sell. It's there if they want to come watch us. We're really, really happy to be able to play the show there. In the past, we've done the Academy and stuff like that, but it's cost of venues are very, very high, you know. So I think this is a good opportunity, a decent venue at a good price. So that's, you know, and we bring all our own production with us as well.
Certainly, and I'm glad it's Opium because, like you said, it's a bit like it will fit, I think, as well. The God Is An Astronaut on an atmospheric level, but as well on the electronic. It's a really nice venue and something different than the usual rock and roll bar, basically.
There's also a lot to be said for the kind of smaller, more intimate venues. We're just back from a tour of Italy. We played some incredible shows over there in Rome and Milan. The shows were quite big. They're in big venues, and one of them was an outdoor festival. Obviously, there was a lot of people at it, and it was an incredible night. But the last show we played was in Sardinia, a small island, obviously, you know, off Italy, and it was a very small venue, smaller than Opium again. But it was probably our favorite show of the whole year because of the interaction that we had with the audience and because on account of the kind of intimate nature. So, you know, you can judge gigs in different ways, and what defines a successful gig. It can obviously monetary success is the thing that most people go to, but there's also the kind of experience that you have collectively as musicians and the audience. And I think so far that Sardinia show that was not only the smallest show, but it was also probably the most enjoyable show.
It was funny because we'd done like Rome up until that point was our favorite show. It was like a huge, I don't know, what was it, maybe 10,000 people at the show, and it was like, it was just a magical experience, and we said that will never be topped. But Sardinia was something else. It's just the connection between us and the audience, and everybody was just, we were all immersed in the sound. Everybody was just in it, and I love those kind of shows where you're in the sound. You're not just a spectator that's watching from a distance. You can everybody just felt a part of this energy that was kind of being created by both us and the audience. So I think the Opium Rooms could do the same thing, you know. So I for us, it's just going to be a real happy day to come back to Dublin all this 20 years later, to be able to, you know, to celebrate this with our true fans. And it's going to be, I think, hopefully the gig of the year. That's what we're hoping for.
I hope so as well. It will be a reliving memories, and it will be in an intimate, cozy room, basically, the Opium. Looking forward to it, as I love small venues. As you said, it's like you can connect really well with a musician than having 10,000 people around you and being squeezed somewhere.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think there's two very different experiences. Like, large audiences are like a kind of, it's just like almost like a white noise. There's a connection there in a way, you know, but it's not the same as, you know, I think if you really want to see a band that you really like, getting into a small venue, for example, you can stand in front of Jamie, you can just hear his guitar playing all night and not even hear mine. Because when people do that, they kind of stand over there, watch Jamie, and then they'll walk over to me and listen to a bit of me, stand in the middle to get a bit of Niels and Lloyd. I love those kind of gigs because you can get a different experience no matter where you stand. Where at a festival, it's more, again, yeah, I suppose a more professional experience. No matter where you stand, you're getting a really good sound and stuff like that. But I love those kind of more energetic kind of gigs, and everybody's there just to kind of get lost in the sound. So that's kind of what we hope.
Interesting insights. So grab your tickets for the Opium gig and experience yourself, basically. We are speaking about Irish scene, and I don't know if it's your impression as well, but what I noticed, the scene here is much more extreme metal oriented. And what do you think yourself, and how do you think God Is An Astronaut blends into Irish metal scene?
I think it's difficult to say. I don't know if we blend into any scene really. The thing with music is interesting. There are these cycles of particular fads that sort of come in, or genres of music that become very popular, and then they might dissipate, and then they might, over the next few years they might come back. We've tried to kind of avoid that within the best of our ability and focus our attention instead on creating the best melody, the best music that we can write. Of course, we will borrow certain elements of popular genres that are, that come in, and see if we can kind of pull it all together. But blending into any particular genre or any scene has never really been the focus for us. And I think it's probably why we've had, we've been grateful and lucky to have a career that, spanned 20 years, is that we do focus on content rather than the actual sort of style.
I would say, as far as us fitting in with the metal scene, on paper, it sounds like it shouldn't work, but it does. We've played Brutal Assault in Czech Republic a couple of times, and I remember the first time we were there, and I can't remember the band on before us, but they had these like goat skeletons, and it was really like, holy shit, we're definitely not in the right place there. This is like, this full on demonology going on here, and the crowd were loving it, and this is like, we're thinking this is not going to work. But the minute we played, the audience just really understood it, and that surprised me at the time. I was thinking, there's not much in common with what's going on here, but there's obviously something that links our music to that scene. And we've been there twice in Brutal Assault, and each time the audience really got it. And recently we played Tech Fest in the UK, which I don't know if you've heard of that festival, but this literally the best musicians that you've ever seen on the planet play that. So they're all virtuosos on the guitar, pretty heavy groups, extremely heavy groups. And we didn't know what to expect. Again, we felt like, okay, we're definitely a novelty act in this festival. We're definitely focusing on different areas. For example, on that particular festival, they're focusing very much on demonstrating their technical ability on the guitar, where we're always using our technical ability to demonstrate the song. So it's a kind of a different flip side to that. But it worked extremely well. Everybody in that audience understood exactly what we were doing. We felt like a punk band against, what was being around us. But in that was really, really cool. I mean, metal is something that we grew up with as well, listening to. I mean, I grew up listening to metal music from, the early days of thrash metal, of Anthrax and Metallica and Overkill and Creator. I mean, I grew up listening up to all that music, so it's not alien to me. I understand it perfectly well. And I think that, I think our music does work with that audience. It's not for every one of them, but it definitely works for the more open-minded audience that, that like, because it is heavy live. It's definitely heavy live. It's definitely, and this is the thing about metal. Metal's got a lot of ferocity, but there's also a lot of ferocity, for example, in noise rock. Yep. Because sometimes when you listen to certain metal bands, it's quite polished too. They've smoothed the edges off a bit. So I think when people see us live, we don't smooth the edges off. We leave it very jagged. And I think there's a raw emotion that metal fans can really, tap into, because it's not done by every metal band anymore. Sometimes they smooth them off too much. And the other thing is, as well, metal bands don't push a lot of bass end. They don't push bass guitar, because the palm muting of the guitar takes takes its place. So we push a lot of low end bass guitar, and Niels is, distorted the bass guitar that would even make Lemmy from Motorhead proud. So I think fans will see, and metal fans would appreciate that kind of thing. But it's not for every one of them, for sure. But that's cool too.
So we, when we see God Is An Astronaut, we have to pay attention now on the bass line being very low and so on.
Yeah, but Niels kind of takes a lot of, he keeps adding more and more distortion pedals to his bass, and if he had it his way, he'd be coming out with 10 Ampeg amps and pile them on top of each other. But we push a lot of sub drops as well. Like, there's influences from electronic music as well that we embrace, like massive subwave drops that will tremor right through your body. You see stuff like Chemical Brothers or Massive Attack using stuff like that. There's definitely room for more, I would think, in metal music to kind of maybe borrow some stuff from different genres as well, which is what James was saying. We like to borrow different things from different genres, never be tied to one. And I think metal music, I think it's embracing us because a lot of what we do does translate across to that audience base.
I experienced, thank you for the story, Thorsten and Jamie. And when I was listening, like I said, I come from a very heavy metal background, very much more. But when you hear God Is An Astronaut, it definitely connects in some level. And I think the atmosphere is similar in some way that you can hear in heavy metal. Like it's different, like it's more post-rock, but in some way to connect in the emotional level you get, it really sucks you in. So even when you're in an extreme metal fest or something and you hear this, you're one, surprised by something different, and secondly, the connection you make with God Is An Astronaut musicians.
We touch on similar subject matter sometimes, like in the Epitaph album, which was written about a death in the family. And, that whole album, I remember at the time, was embraced by the dark metal community in Scandinavia that really understood its emotion. And again, everything we do comes from a place of real life. It's not something that we decided to, create some fantasy story and make some. Everything that we do is about us as people. And I think especially the dark metal audience can really relate to that kind of stuff. So Epitaph definitely, resonated with an audience that we've never kind of pushed before. But all our music definitely comes from a place of reality. Some of it's kind of dark and some of it's happy. Jamie was saying the other day, I think we write our best when we're not in good moods and when we're kind of in a depressed mood, because it's a cathartic experience as well. So music is kind of does that for us. There's certain, anger is one emotion. A lot of metal has anger, but there's also a thing called dread, which is the first time I've ever experienced that. When we had that loss in the family, and it's very unusual. It goes beyond melancholy. It's just like the whole world.
And this emotion, dread, in which songs can we find it?
I think you can hear in Epitaph, the title track Epitaph. That song is literally about the day of the funeral, and it's that one really, I think, nails the emotion of the song. And there's a part with soundscape of flies and stuff like that. I don't want to give it all away, but it's definitely worth listening to. Apart from that, we have different emotions in our stuff. We don't want to be tied just to one. But yeah, again, life is full of challenges, and our music represent those feelings.
Can you give any examples, Jamie, on the emotions a few emotions that can be found in a few songs of the beginning of the end?
I guess I could probably tell you a few. I would say Ascend to Oblivion was kind of written about death. This might sound kind of to some people not as dramatic as it was for me, but we had a family dog that we grew up, and he was a year older than we were. We grew up as babies with him, and to see him being put down, and again, it left a kind of a mark on me. And Ascend to Oblivion, I guess, was dedicated to that. Apart from that, we also had Remembrance, which was again about the loss of life in all world wars. We were influenced. I'm half German, and there's a history there that that we looked into and wanted to kind of capture the atrocities. And at the time we had some disturbing footage that went along with it. It was all in the name of art, But I think people understood that. We had a song called Point Pleasant, which was influenced by the Mothman prophecies, which was a TV show where this bridge was going to collapse. And we were always interested in kind of supernatural kind of stuff. Apart from that, these are kind of more fun songs. Route 666 was influenced by watching a preacher on the television trying to sell his green prosperity handkerchief. And we just thought it would be funny to kind of make a song about that, and we used to use footage from The Devil Rides Out, which is kind of like a BBC horror movie, and we would put some footage on the screen, and it was all in good fun, really. Nothing to be taken too serious. It wasn't us getting into the occult or anything like that. Apart from that, what else was there? We had The End of Beginning was definitely the idea, because you have to remember, coming up to the 2000s, people were going to say the whole world was going to end. I don't think, you might be too young for that, but everybody was saying 2000 comes along, everything was going to end. So we'd written In the Beginning prior to, probably was about late 1999, and that was kind of influenced by the whole apocalyptic culture that was around us. So The End of Beginning kind of touches on that. From Dusk to Beyond, again, is another anti-war song. So it was very much, again, I think at the time you had the whole Gulf War again happening again, so we were, it was all kind of a time of turmoil and war, and the whole album kind of captures that feeling. Coda was just a song to escape away from everything, a place of imagination and just a safe place. So yeah, that was, I think Twilight was another one. I can't quite remember off the top of my head because Niels had written that one, but yeah, they were all kind of about different feelings that we were through.
Most of the feelings are quite broody, but it's life. It's being realistic, and I think that makes the music as well great, and a connection, I think, to the more extreme, as you really feel the emotions that are being sent. So cool. I'm going to re-listen to the album and see if I get all the emotions you just mentioned here. Another thing about the album, I noticed there's a bit of different song structure than the original one. How come?
A couple of reasons. One, I didn't feel some of the arrangements kind of lend itself to the live environment. That was probably primarily one of them. And a lot of them were obviously loops at the time. And when you play them kind of as performances, you can just have an instinctive feeling this bit should maybe go longer or shorter. And we just kind of we didn't, as I said, it wasn't there to directly copy what we did. We wanted just to play these songs and make sense as people in a room playing those songs.
Like you said, like a new album, basically, like different than the first one.
Yeah, different in the first one in the sense that it's a live performance of those songs, and we had created improvisational parts to those songs over the years. For example, From Dusk to Beyond has a whole ending that never appeared on the original record. And the reason at the time From Dusk to Beyond was kind of more of a chill out kind of song, and live, I think we created extra parts to really give people a fuller experience of what the band was capable of. And we wanted to keep those sections in this live version of it because it's been a part of our set for many years now. Coda was one where it aggravated me slightly going back to it, because on one hand it was very, very catchy, the song. It's got this really repetitive hook, but musically it was really kind of repeating itself over and over and over again in a more dance-like structure. And, Jamie worked tirelessly on the piano to try and, pay as much respect to the original song, but to try and take it forward musically. And I came up with the idea of a slightly alternating vocal melody, so it wasn't the same vocal line. So there's a kind of an answer line to the first part of the vocal. I just think musically was better. And again, at the end of the song, we reversed the record on the end of on Coda. So we had to learn that off live. So automatically there was not going to be exactly the same thing. But we made the most of it and created, I think, something close to the original, but it is something different. And I think some songs, I prefer the way we have them now. I think Coda is definitely one of them. And, for people looking for a more chill out experience and don't want, too much of the energy, I'd say the first album is probably still the way to go. But I do think if, you want to hear a bit more energy and slightly more proficient versions of some of those songs, I do think the beginning and the end has definitely something to offer there.
And in the live gig, you played a new version of the songs, correct?
Yeah, and again, most of those songs, I should add, are the versions that we've been playing live for nearly the last 15, 16 years. Those are the versions that you'll be hearing, basically, because essentially that live record just captured what we were doing live. And, there's a whole improvisational parts with bass lines and stuff that's all going to be part of the set. Yeah.
Nice. And Jamie, which one do you like more, the re-released one or the from 2002?
It's hard to say. I mean, songs like From Dusk to the Beyond, it's that song, the way it's evolved over the years, it's become probably the most popular live song that we have as a band. And it's completely different. Like that song, on the first album is a completely different song. Which one I prefer, it's hard to say. I certainly prefer performing. I really enjoy performing that song live, because it's kind of like the turning point in the set where people really start to give you quite a lot of energy. The sub drops, and going back to what Torsten was mentioning about kind of borrowing some stuff and using a lot of low end. I mean, that is definitely apparent in that particular track. But I would have to say that, yeah, I mean, like if I had to pick gun to the head, definitely the new versions.
Yes, agree. And Torsten?
It's hard to really say. I put it this way. I took my everything that I felt that I could improve on it. We definitely put into the beginning of the end. But I knew there was a trade-off with it as well. And the trade-off really was that if the first album was kind of like maybe a chill out experience for people where they would just sit back and not have to think as much, I think the end of the beginning. So I think it's how would I put this? There's a moment in the day where I think end of the beginning version would be better for somebody to listen to. So for example, if you're tired and you don't really want to be challenged with a barrage of noise and energy, I think the end of the beginning is still the better version to listen to. But if you're in a decent frame of mind and it's middle afternoon, I really do think beginning and the end is vastly superior in many ways. It's got better recording. I think we've done some better arrangements on the songs. I think there's no loops or samples in it. It's essentially all performed 100% live. So from that point of view, I probably lean slightly towards the beginning of the end, but I do know there's maybe late at night, I would prefer to listen to the end of the beginning. So, you might not want to listen to the end improvisational part of From Dusk to Beyond at 12:30 or 1 a.m, if you're trying to go to sleep. So I think it's a record for a different time of the day, but yeah, live, I would hate to do the end beginning versions. I would rather do the beginning and the end versions anytime.
Another hidden detail, interesting. Maybe I should, when I write a review, just be in the morning, listen to these two songs, and then in the afternoon, and then in the evening, and then the conclusion, how I feel after these two.
It's very crude, the first album, though, as well. So it may be lost in translation, which is half of the reason we wanted to do this record, because at the time, this was just the birth of doing recordings itself and stuff like that. So the very first record, it has a special place. It's very nostalgic to me, and it was really written with very, very little equipment, and just imagination came out. And I think something better came out of that than what the sounds could even give us, So it was something really interesting musically, if that makes sense, that just came out of that record. And it's the birth of God Is An Astronaut, so it'll always have a very special place.
It certainly makes sense. So the 2002 is the birth, and 2022 is the anniversary.
Yes, definitely. That's the way I kind of see it.
Great. So we spoke about a lot of hidden details, low distorted bass. We spoke about imperfections, Jamie forgetting notes. Emotions, and we spoke with a lot of hidden details. So anything we missed out, or anything else that we didn't discuss tonight that you would like to mention about this rare release?
Not really. I mean, the artwork was done by David Rooney, who was a neighbor of mine and very talented. Nice. And he did a fantastic job. It worked very hard so if you haven't seen the artwork, it's definitely worth picking up a vinyl. Just the whole presentation is incredible. No, that's really it. I just hope that fans that that have been around from the beginning, that we'll see you guys in Dublin, and we're still here, and we hope you're not too old to go to gigs still. And we've picked up many younger fans over the years, but we'd like to see some of the original fan base to come out. The guys that kind of put us here to begin with. And this is kind of for you guys just as much as it is for us.
Great one. Thank you, Thorsten and Jamie, for joining us today and telling us about the 20-year anniversary release, the beginning of the end. And thanks to Palmer Turner Overdrive and Napple Records for promoting this. And we want to thank our collaborator as well for promoting the event. We also want to thank everyone who is watching this video, sharing and liking. And for those who are interested in getting a copy of the beginning of the end, links are below. And also grab your tickets for Opium, for God Is An Astronaut, and like and subscribe to the Metal Galaxy, as we have more interesting content coming soon. And I'm giving the word to Thorsten and Jamie to round up the interview.
So it's a pleasure for us to be on the show, and as I said, it's our 20-year anniversary, and it's been amazing to be playing music this long, and we're really, really grateful to all our fans around the world. And it all started in Ireland, so it's great that that we're going to be able to do a show in Dublin to celebrate our 20 years. And I'll hand it over to Jamie.
Yeah, I'd really just say the same thing. And just to confirm, there's been a few people that have asked us, with the title of this record, the beginning of the end, is this to suggest that we're disbanding as a band? And like, absolutely no is the answer there. We're only getting started as far as we're concerned. So yeah, as Thorsten said, really looking forward to seeing everybody at the gigs. We're putting all our energy into really ensuring that the live show is as captivating as it can be.
Great one. We look forward to the show and celebration. So thank you, Thorsten and Jamie. So goodbye.
Thanks.
Goodbye. Take care. Thanks for having us.